Hey, welcome back to the channel. So happy to see you again. All right, so look, I am getting close to this 1,000 subscribers. I'm still working at it. So if you are watching this and you have not already subscribed, please do. As we go to the video, if you enjoy the content, please hit the like button. All right, let's go. I feel like I have gone as far as I can with plugins. Not that it's bad. I've been able to do some good things with it. I've got replacements. I have mixed every song I've ever made in plugins or with plugin software, and that's been for a long time. So there's nothing wrong with it. It can definitely get the job done. But the sound that I was hearing in my head and the sound that I've always been chasing has really been the sound of hardware in some capacity. And I've been chasing it one-sided, meaning that I've only been using plugins and missing that hardware piece. So now I'm diving into the hardware component to try to achieve the sound as I hear it in my head. All right, so hybrid mixing. Look, this could turn into a long video. Hybrid mixing is essentially you're using or looking, or it's the approach of mixing on analog gear and the approach of mixing in software combined and meshed together. As long as the sound comes out of the box, out of the computer, passes through hardware, and then comes back in. I'll put it like this. It's essentially the best of both worlds. This video is gonna be focused on the inputs and outputs, the I/O that I needed to get my hybrid setup going. So I ended up replacing my PreSonus Digimax D8 with a Focusrite Octopre Mark II Dynamic. All right, so here's the trusty old Digimax, or PreSonus Digimax D8. This is an 8-channel unit, pads across all of the inputs. You have monitors for all of the signal input across all 8 channels here, and your clock toggle from 44.1 to 48. It says external and internal clock. All right, other side here. Now, what this was missing is the A.in, or A.in, excuse me. So what these outputs are here are direct analog outputs, meaning that the sound coming from output 1 is only the input that's going into input 1 here. So the limitation that I had was that any of the sounds coming from my DAW, I couldn't route it to any of these outputs. And from a hybrid mixing standpoint, that's exactly what I need. I needed more outputs. Thus, I didn't have to. So thus I switched from this device to one that actually had inputs that I can send into it. So that means I needed A.in and out. And the A.in means that I'm sending sound into it from my computer. All right, so this is the Focusrite Octopre Mark II Dynamic. As you can see from here, I have my 8 channels right here, controllable directly from the front of the device. Again, that's back to how I like it, being that I was utilizing using the PreSonus for so long. I can simply dial in the input that I need on each one of the 8 channels directly from here. In addition, I also now have this compression that I can dial in directly on each channel from just updating or turning a knob with the more button, which gives me more compression. I still have my input monitoring to monitor the levels of the incoming or signal on the device to make sure it's not clipping. You have your phantom power, 48 volt, for inputs 1 through 4 with this button, and 5 through 8, the second button below it here. You have your instrument impedance or high impedance buttons for the first 2 channels. Sample rate button, simply hit the button and toggle through the sample rates available on it. Now I will say what this one is missing that the PreSonus did have was that since I have this set as slave mode to the Audient ID24, the Focusrite doesn't automatically update the sample rate. The PreSonus would, but this one doesn't. You would think that it would, so it is a bit annoying that I have to turn around and update the sample rate on this in the event that I have switched from a session, let's say from 44.1 to 48, but whatever, it is what it is. At least I'll know that they're out of sync because the nice little green lock button won't be green, it'll be unlit to let me know, hey buddy, you got to sync the 2 of your devices back together. Bit annoying, but whatever. When they're in sync, it's all fine. And you can be in sync through word clock, ADAT, or if this was going to be the master device, you would set this to internal. Now this ADDA button here that's lit up, with it turned on, this is how I'm now routing the incoming signal from my computer into this and out through the outputs. Since it says ADAT in and out, I'm sending the ADAT out of my Audient ID24 and into this, which allows me to send the signal from my DAW out of the outputs from here. So that's why it was important to have ADAT in to send sound into it, which I can then feed out of the outputs. All right, so this is really all part 1. There's been a lot of this. If you can see here, my whole studio was tore up from the floor up, literally. It took me a few days to get this stuff plugged up, everything installed. But if you are looking to also start on this hybrid mixing journey, stay tuned. A lot of interesting content that I have coming in the very near future here. And I hope this helps you to at least understand what kind of inputs you need, or at least that I'm utilizing, and what might be helpful to you. So my suggestion, if you are a beginner going into hybrid mixing, I would say make sure you have an audio interface that has at least 4 inputs and 4 outputs, because 2 of the inputs and 2 of the outputs are automatically gone if you're going to run any kind of like stereo EQ or compressor, because you got to send the sound out and send it right back in. So consider 2 of the inputs and outputs gone. I say 4 because that still leaves you with 2 more outputs to send to your studio monitors, and gives you 2 inputs that you can use for, I don't know, guitar, microphone, so that you're not completely out. Nobody likes constantly plugging and unplugging things. Let me know, have you considered a hybrid mixing setup? Take a look on like Reverb or right now, or eBay for gear, especially at like a decent price before things change, or maybe like your local pawn shops. If you enjoyed today's content or found anything in this video helpful, please go ahead and hit that like button. And again, stay close. I'll continue to send up or provide more videos on this whole hybrid mixing and go over what I'm doing with that compressor back there in the back. But until next time, peace.